So, a very warm good afternoon. I, Professor Vishwajit Ambade, Patil College of Engineering and Technology, Nagpur. Welcome you all for the GATE class under AICT sponsored Prerna scheme. And today we have with us Honorable Dr. G.K. Avari sir. Sir presently working as a head of the department, Automobile Engineering Department, Government Polytechnic, Nagpur. So I request Honorable Dr. G.K. Avari sir to proceed with the session.
Okay, thank you, Vishwajit. So let me present my screen. Let me check whether my presentation is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfectly visible. Your voice is also very clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Vishwajit. So today we will discuss about the metal casting. Okay. YouTube ची लिंक मला पाठवून दे. YouTube वर डायरेक्ट नाही होत आहे ना याच्यामध्ये.
नाही सर, युट्यूबवर डायरेक्टली नाही होत. आपण डाउनलोड करतो व्हिडिओ नंतर अपलोड करतो.
बरं, ठीक. So today's lecture that today we will discuss about the metal casting and the followed by the basically followed by the Taylor's tool like equation. Okay. So what is mean by the metal casting? Metal casting processes, that is casting is one of the oldest manufacturing process, and it is the first step in making the most of the product. As you are already aware that the metal casting manufacturing processes, these are used in the many types of industries for making the products, for making the various products. So the steps, that is making the mold cavity, then material is first liquefied by properly heating it in a suitable furnace, means steps involved in the metal casting process, that is making the mold cavity. We have to make a mold cavity. Okay, then material is first liquefied. Material is first liquefied by properly heating it in a suitable furnace. Then liquid is basically poured into a prepared mold cavity and allowed to solidify there itself. Okay, and then the product is taken out of mold cavity. Product is taken out of the mold cavity, then it is streamed and made to shape the product. So these are the four general process steps which is being involved in the making the product from the casting. Then we should concentrate on the following things for the successful casting operation. So preparation of molds of pattern. Initially we have to prepare the molds of the pattern, then the melting and pouring of the liquefied metal, then solidification and further cooling to the room temperature. Because molten metal is being poured here, so therefore the solidification and further cooling to the room temperature and defects and inspection. Hello. 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 हो हो पाठवा ना म्हणजे हे कसं आहे, बाकी कॉलेजला आलेलं आहे ना इन्फॉर्मेशन. हो पाठवून दे. हो ठीक. So preparation of the molds of pattern, melting and pouring of the liquefied metal, then solidification and further cooling to the room temperature, and the defects and inspection. What are the advantages of the casting process? That is, you can see the various parts which is being shown onto your screen, which is made of the casting processes, like an engine block you can see, which is used in the automobile industry or in the IC engine. Then the gear pump assemblies also you can see, which is being made from the casting. So molten metal can flow into very small section so that the integrate shape can be made by this process. As a result, many other operations such as machining, forging and welding can be minimized. Means once the casting operation is being performed, many of the time the machining operation or the forging or welding operation is not being required. It is possible to cast practically any type of material, whether it is a ferrous material, whether it is a non-ferrous material, any type of material can be used for the casting. Then necessary tools required for the casting molds are very simple and inexpensive. This is one of the advantages of the casting process, that tools are very simple in the manufacturing or simple in construction, and they are also inexpensive. And as a result of that, the production of small lot, it is the ideal process. Means even if for the small production the casting can be used, there are certain parts like a turbine blade made from the metals and alloys that can only be processed in this way, which means that there are certain components which is being used in the industries like a turbine blade, which can be made because only due to the such kind of casting process or manufacturing process. Turbine blade, that is fully casting plus last operation which is to be performed on the turbine blade, is nothing but the machining. Size and the weight of the product is not a limitation of the casting process. So these are all the advantages of the casting process. Over the period of time, the casting process has been developed fully, and now it is being used in almost all type of manufacturing industries. Then limitations of the casting process: the dimensional accuracy and surface finish of the casting made by sand casting process are a limitation to this technique, which means that the basically the accuracy and the surface finish which is obtained from the casting process, that is one of the limitation for the product features or the product configuration. Many new casting processes have been developed which can take into consideration the aspects of dimensional accuracy and surface finish. Some of these processes are die casting process, investment casting process, vacuum sealed molding process, and shell molding process. And the metal casting is one of the labor intensive process. Typical sand molding, let us see the various nomenclature which is being used in the this casting process. You can see that the open riser, then vent is there, then pouring basin, okay, then cope you can see. This is the lower portion, drag, mold cavity, runner. This is core sand, screw, then flasks. This is parting line. The choke is provided here. This is the pouring basin or the cup. So you can see that this is the pouring cup and screw, runner, gate and casting, and this is the top riser. So again, mold section and casting nomenclature can be seen again in case of the top view and the front view. So important casting terms, flask. So flask, it is a metal or wood frame without fixed top or bottom in which the mold is formed. Depending upon the position of the flask, in the molding structure, it is referred to by various names such as the drag and the cope. So drag is nothing but the lower molding flask is nothing but the drag, and upper molding flask is the cope. Intermediate molding flask used in this three-piece molding system is basically the chick. So flask is made up of the metal or the wood frame, and the lower portion is called as the drag and the upper portion is called as the cope. Now what is meant by the pattern? Pattern, it is the replica of the final object to be made. The mold cavity is made with the help of the pattern, which means that if the connecting rod product is to be manufactured with the help of the casting process, then we need to prepare a pattern which is basically the replica of the product to be made, which means that your pattern, if you are manufacturing a connecting rod, then your pattern will also be similar to that of the connecting rod. Then parting line, this is the dividing line between the two molding flasks that makes up the molding sand, sand which binds strongly without losing its permeability to air or gases. It is a mixture of silica sand and clay and moisture in the appropriate proportion. You can see that this is the sand which is being there. Then facing sand, a small amount of carbonous material sprinkled on the inner surface of the mold cavity to give better surface finish to the casting. That is called as the facing sand. Then core, okay, you can see here the core is shown, a separate part of the mold, so made up of the sand and generally baked, so which is used to create openings and various shapes cavities in the casting. Then pouring basin, a small funnel shaped cavity at the top of the mold into which the molten metal is poured for pouring the molten metal. Then sprue, okay, the passage through which the molten metal from the pouring basin reaches the mold cavity. In many cases, it controls the flow of metal into the mold. That is called as the sprue. The runner, which is very important part from the gate point of view, the channel through which the molten metal is carried from the sprue to the gate, and gate is nothing but a channel through which the molten metal enters the mold cavity. And chaplets, that is chaplets are used to support the cores, okay, to support the cores inside the mold cavity to take care of its own weight and overcome the metallostatic force. Then riser, a column of molten metal placed in the mold to feed the castings as it shrinks and solidifies, because you know that once the molten metal is being poured into the mold, in that case it shrinks. So the column of molten metal is placed in the mold to feed the casting as it shrinks and solidifies. It is also known as the riser or the feed head. Then what do you mean by the vent? Okay, you can see here on your screen the vent. It is a small opening in the mold to facilitate the escape of the air. Now let's see what are the steps in making the sand casting. So sand castings are being made into the 6 basic processes. Like first one is nothing but the pattern making. Second one is nothing but the core making. Third one molding. Fourth one melting and pouring. And the fifth one cleaning. So what is the pattern making? So by this time we have studied that pattern is nothing but the replica of the part to be cast, and it is used to prepare the mold cavity. It is physical model of the casting used to make the mold. It can be made of the wood or it can be made of the metal, and this pattern will be a replica of the part to be casted. The mold is made by packing some readily formed aggregate material such as molding sand surrounding the pattern. When the pattern is withdrawn, its imprint provides the mold cavity. This cavity is filled with metal to become the casting. If the casting is to be hollow, additional. If the casting is to be hollow, additional pattern called the cores are to be used from these cavities. Now, core making. So cores are placed into a mold cavity to form the interior surface of the casting. Thus, the void space is filled with the molten metal and eventually becomes the casting. Then molding is nothing but the mold preparation activities for receiving molten metal. Molding usually involves preparing the consolidated sand mold around a pattern held within a supporting metal frame, removing the pattern to leave the mold cavity and cores. And mold cavity is the primary cavity. The mold cavity also contains secondary cavities for pouring and channeling. The liquid material into the primary cavity will act as a reservoir if required. Then melting and pouring, that is preparation of the molten metal for casting, is referred to simply as the melting. The molten metal is transferred to the pouring area where the molds are filled. Then cleaning, the last process, which involves the removal of the sand, scale and excess material from the casting. Burned on sand and scale are removed to improve the surface appearance of the casting. Excess metal in the form of fins, wires, parting lines, pins and gates is removed. Inspection of the casting for defects and general quality is being performed. Now, making a simple sand mold. So the steps involved in making a simple sand mold is being shown. That is, a drag flask is placed on the board. Dry facing sand is sprinkled over the board. Drag hub of the pattern is located on the mold board. Molding sand is then poured in to cover the pattern with the fingers, and then the drag is filled completely. Sand is then tightly packed in the drag by means of the hand rammers. The ramming must be proper. It must neither be too hard or the too soft, because too soft ramming will generate a weak mold and imprint of the pattern will not be good, and too hard ramming will not allow gases, air to escape, and hence bubbles are created in casting, resulting in defects called as blows. Moreover, the making of runner and gates will be difficult. So after the ramming is finished, the excess sand is leveled, removed with a straight bar, which is known as the strike rod. Then vent holes are made in the drag to the full depth of the flask, as well as to the pattern to facilitate the removal of gases during the pouring and solidification, which is being done by the vent rod. The finished drag flask is now made upside down, exposing the pattern. Half of the pattern is then placed on the drag pattern using locating pins. The cope flask is also located with the help of the pins. The dry parting sand is sprinkled all over the drag surface and on the pattern. A sprue pin is for making the sprue passage is located at some distance from the pattern edge, and riser plane is placed at an appropriate place. Filling, ramming and venting of the cope is done in the same manner. Now the sprue and the riser are removed, and a pouring basin is made at the top of the core to the liquid metal to pour the liquid metal. Then pattern from the cope and drag is removed. Runners and grates are made by the cutting the parting surface with a gate cutter. A gate cutter is a piece of sheet metal bent to the desired radius. The core for making a central hole is now placed into the mold cavity in the drag, and mold is now assembled and ready for the pouring. Then the pattern and the part to be made are not same, they are different in the following ways. What are the differences? A pattern is always made larger than the final part to be made, because the excess dimension, which is known as the pattern allowance. So pattern loss is consist of the shrinkage allowance, okay, or the machining allowance. What is shrinkage allowance? It will take care of the contractions of a casting which occurs as the metal cools to its room temperature, because molten metal is being poured, its temperature is high, then it allow the casting to come to the normalized to the normal temperature, and during this phase the shrinkage will be there, contractions of the casting will be there. So shrinkage allowance will take care of all these things when the metal cools to its room temperature. Liquid shrinkage, that is reduction in volume when the metal changes from liquid state to the solid state. Riser which feed the liquid metal to the casting is provided in the mold to compensate for this. For this purpose, the riser is being provided. Solid shrinkage, that is reduction in the volume caused when metal loses temperature in solid state. Okay. Shrinkage allowance is provided on the patterns to account for this. Shrink rule is used to compensate the solid shrinkage depending on the material contraction rate. So cast iron, that is equal to 12 inches on the 1 by 8 inch per foot shrink allowance. So 4 inch will be 4-1 by 24 inch for considering the shrinkage allowance. Shrink rule for other materials, that is material dimensions and the shrinkage allowance is being shown. For a grey cast iron up to 2 feet 0.125. Similarly, for the aluminum it is given over 6 feet dimensions 0.125 inch per feet. Then for magnesium over 4 feet 0.155 inch per feet. The shrinkage allowance depends on the coefficient of thermal expansion of the material. A simple relation indicates that higher the value of A, more is the shrinkage allowance. So shrinkage allowance, it basically depends upon the coefficient of the thermal expansion of the material. For dimensions of L, the shrinkage allowance is alpha L into theta F minus theta 0, where theta F is the freezing temperature and theta O is the room temperature. Then machining allowance, the particularly machining allowance will take care of the extra material that will be removed to obtain the finished product. In this, the rough surface in the cast product will be removed. The machining allowance depends on the size of the casting, material properties and material distortion, finishing accuracies and the machining method. What are the various sample machining allowances which is given as per the various material which is being shown? That is cast iron up to 12 inches. The allowance is 0.12. Cast steel up to 6 inches, the 0.12. For non-ferrous up to 8.09 inches. Then draft allowance. All the surfaces parallel to the direction in which the pattern will be removed are tapered slightly inward to facilitate the safe removal of the pattern. This is called as the draft allowance, because surfaces which are parallel to the direction in which the pattern to be removed are basically tapered slightly inward so that there is a safe removal of the pattern. So general usage, that is external surfaces, internal surfaces, holes and the pockets. So typical draft allowances, you can see that when the pattern material is made of the wood, depending upon the height of the given surface in inches 1 to 2, the draft angle to be provided, it is given draft angle for the internal surface. Again, it is being given. So these are the typical draft allowances. The pattern having a draft allowance on the vertical surface, you can see that. Now let us consider one example of the casting. That is the casting shown is to be made by using the cast iron and using a wooden pattern, not the metallic pattern, but the wooden pattern is to be used. Assuming only shrinkage allowance, calculate the dimensions of the pattern. So assuming the shrinkage allowance, you have to calculate the dimensions of the pattern which is being required. So dimensions of the parts which is being given, that is 8 inch, 14 inch, 18 inch, like that. Then depending upon the material, that is a grey cast iron, the shrinkage allowance is given, cast steel, the shrinkage allowance, aluminum, up to 4 feet shrinkage allowance, magnesium. Okay. Then this is the 8.09. You can see that this casting part to be made 8, 14, 18. Here you can see that 8.09, 14.15, 18.2 instead of 18. So these are the allowances which is being provided over there. Then the casting shown is to be, this is the same example. Then core and the core print. So basically the function of the cores is to make holes, recesses, etc. in the casting. So where coring is required, provision should be made to support the core inside the mold cavity. Core prints are used to serve this purpose. The core print is an added projection on the pattern and it forms a seat in the mold on which the sand core rests during the pouring of the mold. The core print must be of the adequate size and shape so that it can support the weight of the core during the casting operation. So look at this one, the core print. The core, you can see pattern and mold. Then distortion allowance. After the shrinkage allowance, machining allowance, draft allowance, let us see the distortion allowance. This is the original casting which you can see here, distorted part and the cambered part. So vertical edges will be curved or the distorted. This is prevented by shape pattern converge slightly so that the casting after distortion will have its slides vertical. The distortion in casting may occur due to the internal stresses. These internal stresses are caused on account of unequal pulling of different sections of the casting and hindered contraction. Prevention, providing sufficient machining allowance to cover the distortion effect, providing suitable allowance on the pattern called camber or the distortion allowance. The tapped hole and slot is to be made by the sand casting. Taking the example ahead, they will be made by the machining operation. The pattern shown is made in two holes which are located by the dowel pins. This is called as the split pattern. Pattern material wood, light, easily and workable, minimum tendency of checking and wrapping. Then pattern material. Pattern for sand castings are subjected to the considerable wear and tear due to the ramming action and which are required abrasive action of the sand. Should be impervious to moisture because of changing surrounding. Mold pattern material that is made up of the wood, metal, plastics, plaster. Then woods, that is white pine or the sugar pine. The wood should be straight grain, light, easy to work, little tendency to develop crack and wrap, more durable. For large casting metals such as cast iron or aluminum, when metal pattern are cast from the wooden master pattern, double shrinkage must be provided on the wooden master pattern. So assume metal pattern is made of aluminum and casting are made of cast iron and shrinkage allowance for the wooden pattern master pattern can be given as solid shrinkage for the cast metal, grey cast iron shrinkage allowance up to 0.125, cast steel up to 2 feet 0.251, aluminum up to 4 feet 0.155, magnesium also up to 4 feet 0.173. Now different ways of making a sand mold. So simple bushing sand casting to be molded, flat back pattern, that is it can be used for this. In this, after completing the mold cavity is either in the drag side or cope side or in both. The hole is formed by the molding sand. The outside edge around the flat back is parting line, and it is the starting place for draft. Using a dry sand core to obtain the core, and this is a split pattern. The axis of the hole is vertical in the first case. The second case is same as the first, except that the whole axis is horizontal. Then consider a solid cylindrical pattern, which is shown, which is being shown above. The pattern is placed onto the molding board, rammed and rolled over. In order to withdraw the pattern from the sand, some of the sand is removed and smoothed. This creates a new parting surface. Thus, a parting line is made which joins the parting line around the pattern. The operation of removing the sand and making a new parting surface is called as the coping down. Okay. So mold is completely by ramming up the cope in the usual manner. Other material method, cylindrical pattern standing on the end if it were not too long. Cylindrical pattern can be molded using the split pattern. Then bedding in method, that is a solid cylindrical pattern, can also be molded using the bedding in method. So the in this method, the first drag is partially filled with the molding sand and ram. After sufficient ramming, the pattern is pressed into the sand. So in this case, to have a proper ramming of the sand close to the pattern is dug and rammed tightly. Sometimes the pattern is removed and the sand is surface tested for the soft spots. In case of the soft spot, the ramming is continued with the additional sand till the sand is packed tightly. The pattern is again pressed downward to have the properly rammed mold cavity. So bedding is done so that the parting line is about level with the surrounding flat sand surface. Whenever a pattern is bedded in, the drag need not to be rolled over. Bedding in can be employed for making larger molds using the pit molding. Then false scope. Sometimes it is called as the odd side. That is, false scope technique is another method of molding the sand solid cylindrical pattern. This is similar to the bedding in method, except that it is not required to ram the sand tightly under the pattern, or the pattern shape is such that it is not possible to ram the sand tightly. The pattern is first bedded into the cope without giving importance to the ramming of the sand beneath the pattern, and a smooth parting surface is made. The cope and the pattern is then dusted with the parting sand, and drag part of the flask is placed on the top of the cope. Ramming is then completed as per the usual manual. Then the entire assembly is clamped and rolled over on a sand bed. The clamps are removed and the cope and bottom board are removed and destroyed. So empty cope is then placed onto the drag and the usual ramming is performed. It should be observed that the cope first used is a dummy block for creating the drag correctly. This is called as the false cope. Then green sand match. The main reason for making the green sand match is that the coping down operations can be reduced to a greater extent, reducing the cost and the time. Taking an example like a pattern with a parting line not lying in one plane, this pattern should be supported on a mold board at the elevated end by a wood piece. Once the ramming, rolling over and coping down are completed, the drag will look like which is shown in the second figure. Okay, on the top of this drag, a green sand match may be rammed up extra hard without screw and riser pin. The completed green sand match with pattern which is basically shown. So also the hard sand match, POP match, cement match. Gated pattern. Okay, you can see the gated pattern. This is the gate is made of the part of the pattern. 8 patterns runner, you can see that. In general, a gated pattern consists of many small patterns fastened together through a gating. Since gates runners are part of the pattern, time and cost are not spent in making them separately. Instead of that, they are connected together, and a number of patterns are wrapped and drawn from the mold at the same time, saving the additional time. Then patterns requiring 2 or more parting surfaces. Mm, Look at the sheave to wheel to be molded. 3 parts mold for the sheave wheel casting. Using green sand core for making sheave wheel casting. So first method of making a sheave wheel mold is through 3-part flask, having a middle flask region called a cheek. Another way is by using a special green sand core. Cores for exterior casting surfaces. So pattern for making shoe wheel casting using a dry sand core for groove making. Mold with dry sand cores for making a shoe metal casting. So dry sand cores can be used for making the grooves. Usage of the core box is required for making a core, which makes this method not suitable below the certain quantity. For large quantity, this method is preferred. Then look at the bearing frame casting having the overhanging bosses. Core for exterior casting surfaces, bearing frame casting having overhanging bosses, drag shoeing half of the pattern ramped up into the molding sand, using a dry sand core held using a nail to produce a boss. Then using a dry core sand, the overhanging bosses are made using a core print, dry sand core in place using a loose piece. So disadvantages of loose piece is that shifting of loose piece while ramming. Loose pieces are used in core boxes for making cores with the backdrop. Okay. Horizontal depression or progression. Then using a drawback. So drawback is employed for pattern with the backdrops, which is nothing but the horizontal depression or projection. A drawback consists of mold that can be drawn back in order to remove the pattern. As shown in the figure, a drawback is rammed around a rigid support called arbor, which is used to move it. Drawback is like a green sand core ramped up against the mold instead of making it in a. Then teens, look at the teens. That is, teens are made up of sheet metal shapes that are used with pattern to make the certain internal and external surfaces. But at the same time, pattern can be removed with the mold cavity. They are thin, hollow sheet metal shells that can be attached to the pattern before the pattern is wrapped up inside. When the pattern is withdrawn, they remain in mold and should fuse into the casting. Non-ferrous casting, a tin plated sheet is about 0.012 inch thick is used. Then core and the core print. So where core does not extend entirely through the casting, it should be fixed, balanced properly as shown. Too long cores cannot be balanced properly. A pattern with a hanging core print shown for making a piston. The core in the mold acts as a cover for the mold cavity. This is the method for molding two pistons at a time, having a one balanced core. Then using the chaplets, okay, we will take a 2 minutes biological break and then we will continue again.
सर आवाज नहीं आ रहा है. हेलो. हेलो.
So let me check whether I am audible or not.
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Audible, no?
Yes sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So using the chaplets, so chaplets are used to support a core and place between the core and the mold wall. As the mold is filled with the molten metal, the chaplets prevents the core to float and move upward, dislocating from its position. So part of the chaplet in the mold will be fused into the casting. So chaplet not fused properly will create a mechanical weakness and mold wall leak. And these are generally made heavier than rather than the lighter, such that they seldom unite with the surrounding metal. Okay. The tin or the copper plated chaplets are used for ferrous casting to avoid the rusting. Radiator chaplets having a flat surface ends are fixed in the pattern itself and will provide a good support to core along with the rammed side. Ramming a large mold, because the first few inches of sand over the pattern should be carefully rammed and tightly packed. The soft spot packet should be rammed properly. Large mold of considerable depth should be rammed layer by layer. Floor rammers that are heavy and measure up to 5 feet long can be used. The molder will stand on the ram sand. Nowadays, a pneumatic rammer is operated by compressed air with a butt-shaped end. The ramming should be done as close to vertical surfaces of pattern. So pit molding. So pit mold for the diesel engine is being shown. That is a large castings are made in pits in foundry floor. Reinforced concrete is used to make sides or bottom of the pins. So bed of charcoal is used at the bottom of the pit to aid the escape of the gases. So on the bed of the charcoal it is being placed. Bedding in technique may be used since rolling over of drag is not possible. Appropriate placing of the pattern is done. Several cores can be used for making the delicate shapes. Pit molding may take a few days to weeks for completion. Hence, binders are added to the molding sand, which hardens when the air is dry. So sometimes the mold cavity is heated to harden with time by placing a stove down the mold cavity and covering the entire mold to keep the heat inside the cavity. Slow cooling of molten metal is allowed so that the internal stresses can be minimized. Then the low cost pattern for the large molding. So sweep pattern and the segmental pattern. Okay, it is mean for the large but few casting, that is sweep, segmental, okay, then partial and skeleton pattern. Sweep pattern consists of a board having a profile of the desired mold which is revolved around a spindle or guide produces the mold. Two are used, one for sweeping the cope and another for the drag. Segmental pattern meant for circular ring shaped large sections. Instead of using a full pattern, part pattern is used. Once molding is done at one place, it is rotated to the adjacent region and molding is done. Then skeleton pattern. Look at the skeleton pattern. This consists of a frame of wood representing the interior and exterior forms. Stickles like a strike of bars are used to remove the excess sand, which is purposefully rammed and extra thickness than the required for the desired mold surfaces. Loam molding, that is loam consists of 50% of the clay as compared with the ordinary molding sand. Mixed consistently to reassemble mortar, and loam is applied on the surface of the brick framework. The molds are dried in ovens before they are put into the use. This was used for making casting bells and cathedrals or cannons for war in 13th century. Ingredients used in the sand for making molds are the cores. Binders used in the sand casting for the molds and the cores. That is clays, fire clay, then oils, vegetables, that is marine animal, whale oil, mineral, synthetic resin, thermosetting, binders made from corn, then wood product binders like natural resin, water soluble gums, protein binders, glue resin, and other binders like a Portland cement, pitch or molasses. Natural and the synthetic molding sand. Natural sand is nothing but it is ready for use as it is dug from the ground. Good natural molding sand are obtained from Albany and the New York. The following average compositions are seen in natural molding sand, that is 65.5% is the silica grains, 21.7% is the clay content, and 12.8% is the undesirable impurities in the sand. So too much clay content and other impurities fill up the gaps between the sand grains. This will hinder the necessary passage of steam and other gases during pouring of the mold. Synthetic molding sand. Synthetic molding sand is made by mixing together specially selected high quality clay free silica with about 5% of the clay. They are tailor-made to give most desirable result. Some of the advantages of the synthetic molding sand are refractory grain sizes are more uniform. Then the less bonding agent is required, more suitable for use with mechanical equipment. Advantages of natural molding sand, that is moisture content range is wide and molds can be repaired easily. Then coming to the core making part in case of the casting, that is generally cores are used for making interior surface of hollow castings, and nowadays it is being used for making the exterior surfaces and also for the other purposes. Synthetic core binders, they have some unusual properties like shorter baking times and excellent collapsibilities, which reduces the defect of the casting. Then core mix, which is contains the free silica sand. This is usually mixed with binders, water, and the other ingredient to produce them. Core characteristics. That is a good dry sand core should have the following characteristics. That is a good dry strength. Then sufficient green strength to retain the shape before baking. Refractoriness, surface smoothness, permeability, lowest possible amount of gas created during the pouring of casting. Core dryers, cores must be supported properly in the green stain. Then curved surfaces of the cores will be flattened. Core should be prevented from sagging. Core dryers may be made as metal casting with the thin sections in order to absorb the minimum heat. They are perforated for large escape of gases. So you can see that dry sand core before baking. This is the core flat. The flattened portion will come here. Okay, this is core dryer. So loose boxes in a loose pieces in a core boxes. So loose pieces are required for cores having backdrop on vertical side. Such a loose piece will form an entire side of the core. The loose piece remains on the core, which will be removed later by the horizontal movement. Cores, wires, rods and arbors. The small core have sufficient strength after baking to withstand the molten metal upward force. For iron casting, the lifting force is 4 times the weight of the core. Certain cores and slender cores which do not have strength are supported by embedding wires, rods and arbors into the core section. So wires are meant for small cores, whereas arbors are CI or steel-based skeleton structure. So removing arbors is an issue here. Core venting. Proper core venting is required, especially if the cores are surrounded largely by the molten metal. The cores containing binders will produce the gases, steam, because of the heat generated due to the molten metal. And these gases should be vented out through the core print so that defects like blows can be avoided. Large cores are sometimes made hollow. Heating the metal, that is furnaces are used to heat and melt the metal to a molten temperature and sufficient for casting. The total heat energy required is the sum of heat to raise the temperature up to the melting point, then heat of fusion to convert it into the solid to the liquid, and the heat to raise the molten metal to the desired temperature for pouring. So basically it consists of the 3 parts, which you can see that first thing is nothing but heat to raise the temperature of the melt up to the melting point. then heat of fusion to convert it from the solid to the liquid, and then heat to raise the molten metal to the desired temperature for the pouring. So the expression of heating the metal is H is equal to rho V in bracket Cs in bracket Tm minus Ta plus Hf plus Cl into Tp minus Tm, where H is the total heat required to increase the temperature of the metal to the pouring temperature. Rho is nothing but the density in gram per centimeter cube. V is nothing but the volume of metal used in heating. Then Cs specific heat for the solid. Okay. Then Tm melting temperature of the metal in centigrade. Ta ambient temperature for starting. H capital H heat of fusion, and Cl specific heat of the flux liquid metal, and Tp is the temperature of the pouring liquid. So assumptions under which this particular equation is valid is being given. That is, there are no heat losses to the environment during heating, but which is not really true, because whenever the during the heating there are some environmental losses. Sometimes specific heat of the metal in solid and liquid states are assumed same, but they are not really same. So let us look at the one question, numerical. A disc is given 40 centimeter in diameter and 5 centimeter thick. It is to be casted of pure aluminum in an open mold operation. The melting temperature of aluminum is 660 degrees centigrade and the pouring temperature will be 800 degrees centigrade. Assume that the amount of aluminum heated will be 5% more than the needed to fill the mold cavity. Compute the amount of heat required that must be added to the metal to the heat pouring temperature starting from room temperature of 25 degrees centigrade. The heat of fusion of aluminum is 389.3 joule per gram and density is 2.7 gram per centimeter cube. Specific heat is given C is equal to 0.88 joule per gram into degree centigrade. So heat required is nothing but rho V in bracket Cs into Tm minus Ta plus Hm plus Cl in bracket Tm minus Tp. So if you put the values in this equation, which is given in the numerical, you will come out to be heat required, okay, is 19,082,756 joules. Similarly, second example, that is casting a large plate in an open mold. The plate has a dimensions L is equal to 20 inches, W is equal to 10 inches, and D is equal to 3 inches. Compute the amount of heat that must be added to the metal to heat it to a temperature of 2150 Fahrenheit for pouring. Assume that the amount of metal heated will be 10% more than the needed to fill the mold cavity, and the properties of the metal are given. And the heat required is calculated to be 582 to 58265 British thermal unit. Then melting of metal. The gases in metal is important in deciding the defect-free casting, because in metal casting gases may be mechanically trapped or generated due to variation in their solubility at different temperature and phases generated because of chemical reaction. Gases generally present are hydrogen, nitrogen gases are present. Hydrogen, that is based on the solubility of hydrogen. Metals are divided endothermic metals like aluminum, magnesium, exothermic like Ti and zirconium. The solubility of hydrogen in various metals are shown in figure. Here solubility S is the volume of H2 gas absorbed by 100 gram of matter. The solubility of hydrogen in solid and liquid phases at solidus temperature is given. Seward's law. Hydrogen removal, that is for non-ferrous metals, chlorine, nitrogen, helium, argon is used. For ferrous metals, Ni-based alloys, nitrogen cannot be used. They form nitrites that affect the grain size. In this case, the carbon monoxide is used. Nitrogen removal, that is carbon monoxide, can be used. Marked decrease in the solubility of nitrogen in ferrous metal leads to porosity in casting. Vacuum melting is used nowadays for preventing the solution of gases in metal. Pouring, gating, design. A good gating design should ensure proper distribution of molten metal without excessive temperature loss, turbulence, and gas entrapping and slags. So if the molten metal is poured very slowly, since the time taken to fill the mold cavity will be longer, solidification will start even before the mold is being completely filled. Okay, if the mold melting process is being too slow, this can be restricted by using a superheated metal. In this case, solubility will not be a problem. If the molten metal is poured very faster, it can erode the mold cavity. So getting design is very important, and it depends on the metal and molten metal composition. For example, aluminum can be get oxidized easily. So getting design is classified into the two steps: vertical getting, bottom getting, and horizontal getting. So what is the vertical getting? You can see in the picture on your screen, a simple vertical getting is shown, and in the second picture, you will be able to see the bottom getting. So vertical getting means the liquid metal is poured vertically directly to fill the mold with the atmospheric pressure at the base end. That is the vertical getting. Bottom getting, that is molten metal is poured from the top but filled from the bottom to the top to minimize the oxidation and splashing of the pouring, which is called as the bottom getting. Horizontal getting is a modification of the bottom getting in which some horizontal portions are added for good distortion of molten metal and to avoid the turbulence. Vertical getting, analysis of pouring and filling up mold. So for analysis, we use the energy balance equation like a Bernoulli's equation, that is H1 plus V1 P1 by rho g plus V1 square by 2g plus F1 is equal to H3 into P3 by rho g plus V3 square by 2g plus F3. So assuming P1 is equal to P3 and level as 1 is maintained, so the energy balance between the point 1 and 3, which is given as V3 is equal to square root of 2g H3. So continuity equation, volumetric flow rate, that is A1 V1 is equal to into VT. So above two equations say that so the screw should be tapered. All the metal flows into the screw opening, it increases in velocity. Otherwise, as the velocity of the flowing molten metal increases toward the base of the screw, air can be aspirated into the liquid. The mold filling time can be given as V by Q. So V divided by Q is nothing but Ag into V3. To prevent this condition, the screw is designed with a taper so that the volume flow rate Q is equal to AV remains the same at the top and the bottom of the screw. You have to remember that this is the minimum time required to fill the mold cavity. Since the analysis ignores the frictional losses and possible constriction of flow in the gating will be longer than that what is given in the equation. Bottom gating equation is being shown here. Combining these equation, finally we get a equation for time. Tf is equal to am divided by g 1 by root of 2g into 2 root of ht minus square root of ht minus h. So find the filling time. This kind of numericals will be given to you. That is, find the filling time for both the mold types. Area of cross section of the gate is 5 centimeter per square. So TF is coming out to be 21.8 second or 43.7 second. Aspiration effect. Aspiration effect, that is entering of gases from baking of organic compound present in the mold into the molten metal stream. This will produce porous casting. Pressure anywhere in the liquid should not be become the negative. Okay, free falling liquid, metal flow with aspiration effect, a tapered sprue with the aspiration effect. Pressure anywhere in the liquid system should not become the negative. Approximating tapered sprue using the choke mechanism. In many high production casting systems, tapered sprue will not be provided. Instead, it is compensated by having chokes at the end of the sprue or run. This is case study number 2, where the sudden change in flow direction is there. A sharp change in the flow direction is avoided by designing the mold to fit the vena contracta. Preventing impurities and turbulence in the casting. That is, the atoms provided in the gating system to avoid impurities and turbulence. Okay, pouring basin. This pouring basin, this reduces the eroding force of the liquid metal poured from the furnace. This also maintains a constant pouring feed also. So from the experience, it can be seen that pouring basin depth of 2.5 times the sprue entrance diameter is enough for smooth metal flow. Radius of 25 R is good for smooth entrance of sprue. Delay, screen or the strainer core, splash core. Gating ratios, that is sprue area, runner area and the gate area. SRG means sprue area, runner area and the gate area. So non-pressurized has a choke at the bottom of the sprue base, has total runner and the gate areas higher than the sprue area. No pressure is present in the system and hence no turbulence, but chances of air aspiration is possible because of the aluminum and magnesium alloy. So in this case, the gating ratio is taken as 1:4:4 or non-pressurized. And for the pressurized one, here the gate area is smallest, thus maintaining the back pressure throughout the gating system. The back pressure generates turbulence and thereby minimizes the air aspiration even when the straight sprue is used. So this is not good for light alloys, but good for the ferrous casting. And in this case, the gating ratio, in case of the pressurized one, it is 1:2:1, whereas in case of non-pressurized one, 1:4:4. These are the various gating ratios which are used in the practice. That is aluminum, copper, ductile iron, grey cast iron, magnesium, malleable iron. The flow rate of a liquid metal into the downsprue of a mold is given as 1 liter per second. The cross-sectional area at the top of the sprue is 800 mm square and its length is 175 mm. What area should be used at the base of the sprue to avoid aspiration of the molten metal? So this base area is equal to A is equal to Q into V. So answer comes out to be 540 mm square. So molten metal can be poured into the pouring cup of a mold at a steady rate of 1000 centimeter cube per second. The molten metal overflows the pouring cap and flows into the down sprue. The cross-sectional area of the sprue is round with a diameter at the top 3.4 centimeter. If the sprue is 25 centimeter long, determine the proper diameter at its base so as to maintain the same volume flow rate. Similarly, you need to solve some numericals of the casting, okay, getting design and rising design. Then solidification of the alloys. Look at the phase diagram for NiCu alloy system, cooling curve for the Ni system. Solidification and shrinkage. That is measure 3 stages in shrinkage. Contraction of liquid before solidification during cooling. Contraction during cooling liquid to a solid phase change. Contraction of liquid solid metal during cooling to RT. Compensation for shrinkage cavity. Directional solidification. Then rate of solidification. In order to place the riser properly and it does not solidify before casting, we should know about the time taken by the casting to solidify and distance to which solidification is completed from the mold surface. We know that the heat rejected by the molten metal is dissipated through the mold wall. Heat thus released passes through 5 different layers. The temperature distribution in these layers is being given. So solidification of casting in a insulating mold. So this is one of the numerical which is asking you to find out the solidification time of 2 cast iron castings when both are poured with no superheats into the sand molds at an initial temperature of 28 degrees centigrade. A slab shaped casting of 10 mm thickness and a sphere of 10 centimeter in diameter. So iron freezing temperature is 1540 degrees centigrade. L is 27272 kilojoule per kg. Density is 7850, and then calculate it. Riser design. The riser can be designed as per the Kronemoll's rule. Okay. The cylindrical riser must be designed for a sand casting mold. Again here just a numerical for finding out the solidification time of two iron castings when both are poured at the same temperature. This is for the riser design. Then casting processes, sand castings. Shell molding we have seen. Okay. Investment casting. In this casting process, a pattern is made up of wax is coated with a refractory material um, to make the mold surface, after which the wax is melted away while the pouring the metal, molten metal. Investment means to cover completely, which refers to the coating of the refractory material around the wax pattern. So this is the precision casting process. Using this, we can make castings of high accuracy with intricate details. Wax pattern. So advantages of this one: complex and intricate parts can be casted. Tolerances of 0.075 mm are possible. Good surface finish is possible. Additional machining is not required. Near net shape par. Okay, so and applications like a steel, stainless steel, high temperature alloys can be cast. Example of the part, that is machining parts, blades, components of turbine engines, jewelry and dental fixtures. Steps in the permanent mold process. Look at the steps in the die casting process. Cold chamber casting. Advantages of the such type of die casting process, that is high production rates and economical, close tolerances possible of the order of plus minus 0.076. Thin sections with a 0.5 mm can be made. Small grain size and good strength casting can be made because of the rapid cooling. Centrifugal casting includes the true centrifugal casting, semi-centrifugal casting. So in this method, the mold is rotated at high speed so that the molten metal is distributed by the centrifugal force to the outer regions of the die cavity. Centrifugal die casting, vertical centrifugal casting, semi-centrifugal casting. So in this process, the centrifugal force is used to produce non-tubular parts, and GF will be around 15 by controlling the rotation speed. Molds are provided with riser at the center. These are the defects in the sand casting. Okay, sand blow and pinholes. Okay, defect consisting of a balloon-shaped gas cavity or gas cavity is caused by the release of mold gases during pouring. It is present just below the casting top surface. Low permeability, bad gas, venting and high moisture content of the sand mold are the usual causes. Sand wash, surface dip that results from erosion of the sand mold during pouring. Scrap, it is caused by portions of the mold surface flaking off during the solidification and gets embedded into the casting cell. These are the common defects in the casting, that is misruns, cold shots, shrinkage cavity, microporosity. These are the common defects in the casting. Now let us coming to the last portion of our presentation and today's discussion on the metal casting, that is tool life and machinability. So tool life and machinability, because you know that whenever the tool is continuously used, it fails basically. So resharpening is doing it resharpening of the tool again. So tool life means what? Useful life of the tool expressed in terms of the time of the start of a cut to termination point. So defined by the failure criteria. Sometimes also expressed in terms of the number of the parts to be machined. For example, in one tool life, we may be producing 1,000 parts, 2,000 parts, like that. Tool failure criteria depends upon the requirement of the component to be produced, the type of operations also, whether it is a rough operation like force and power requirement, finishing operations, surface finish, and the dimensional accuracy. And this is Vt to the power of n is equal to C is nothing but the Taylor's tool life equation proposed by the Taylor after 12 years of conducting the experiments onto the tool. So what is this V? V is nothing but the cutting speed. T is nothing but the tool life expressed in minutes. Small n is nothing but the exponent for conditions tested. And Ct is Taylor constant. Ct represent the cutting speed for 1 minute of tool life. So Vt to the power of n is equal to C is nothing but the Taylor's tool life equation. You can see here the graph between the cutting speed and the tool life. Okay, cutting speed and tool life. So it does not account for the feed, depth of cut, tool geometry, okay, rake angle, alpha. So looking taking an algorithm on both the sides of this equation, we can find out that V this becomes a straight line onto the log scale. So V t to the power of n, f to the power of n1, and d to the power of n2 is equal to c, where this capital N, small n1 and small n2 constant depending upon the tool material equal from point 1 to point 4, and the C is nothing but the constant that depends on tool work material composition and the tool geometry. So with the help of this equation, we can find out the tool life uh, with the help of the Taylor's tool life equation. Then variables affecting the tool life, that is cutting conditions, VDF, tool geometry, all 6 angles and nose radius, workpiece material, then cutting fluid, machine tool and workpiece region, and the tool material. These are the variable. Okay. So let's see that. Okay. Let me check whether I'm audible and you are able to get it or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So these are the previously asked questions from the casting in the GATE examination. We will discuss these some of the questions. 6, 7 questions are there, and then we will end up with the today's discussion with any queries from your side. So green sand mold indicates that what it indicates. Basically, the green sand mold means it contains moisture. Okay, options are given confusing in such a manner that polymeric mold has been cured, mold has been totally dried, mold is greener in color because green sand. So therefore many students may like to take the option C where the mold is green in color. But the mold which contains moisture is called as the green sand. So green sand mold is composed of a mixture of sand, that is silica sand, SiO2, clay, which acts as a binder, and water. The word green is associated with the condition of wetness or freshness, and because the mold is left in the damp condition, hence the name the green sand mold. Then in a gating system, the ratio of 1 is to 2 is to 4, what it represents. Okay, because option A sprue area, uh, runner area, ingate area, B pouring basing area, ingate area, runner area, sprue base area. Okay, what it represents basically. So what is gating ratio? Gate ratio is defined as the ratio of sprue base area followed by the total runner area and total in-gate area. So sprue base area is taken as the unity. So 1:2:4, that is sprue base area, runner area and total in-gate area. So which means that in this question number 2, option A is the correct option. Two streams of liquid metal which are not hot enough to fuse properly result into a casting defect known as the cold shed, swell, sand wash or scab. Because two streams of liquid metal which are not hot enough to fuse properly result into a casting defect known as cold shed. This defect is same as in sand mold casting. The reasons are cooling of die or loss of plasticity of the metal, short speed less, air vent or airflow less. So cold shed basically this defect is known as cold shed. Then fourth question, while cooling a cubical casting of 40 undergoes 3%, 4% and 5% volume shrinkage allowance during the liquid state, phase transition and solid state respectively, the volume of the metal compensated from the riser. Okay, how much percentage of the volume of the metal? Since the metal shrink on solidification and contracts further on cooling to room temperature, the linear dimensions of pattern are increased in respect of those of the finished casting to the obtained. This is called as the shrinkage allowance. So riser can compensate for volume shrinkage only in the liquid or transition state and not in the solid state. So the volume of the metal that can be compensated from the riser is only 3% plus 4%, 7%. Because you see here, it is being given as 3%, 4% and 5%. So shrinkage allowance, that is volume of the metal that can be compensated from the riser, is basically the option B, that is 7%. Then match the following. That is in column 1 and column 2, the like a metallic chills, metallic chaplets, riser, exothermic padding, and in column 2, support for the core, reservoir of the molten metal, control cooling of critical section, progressive solidification is being given, and you need to select the correct option like a metallic chills. So metallic chills are for the progressive solidification. Metallic chaplets are for the support for the core. Riser is for the reservoir of the molten metal, and exothermic padding is basically for control the cooling of the critical section. So option D is the correct one. Then which of the following engineering material is the most suitable candidate for hot chamber die casting? Okay, options are given for like a low carbon steel, titanium, carbon and tin. So hot chamber die casting process is used for low melting temperature alloys. So in this case, which is a low melting temperature alloys, that we need to find out. So out of the low carbon steel, titanium, copper and tin is the low melting temperature alloy. So therefore option D is to be selected. The hardness of the green sand mold increases with the increase in moisture content beyond 6%, increase in permeability, decrease in the permeability, increase in both moisture content and permeability. So hardness of green sand mold increases, okay, with kya hai? So because cold forming or cold working can be defined as a plastic deforming of metals and alloys under conditions of temperature and strain rate. Theoretically, the working temperature for cold working is below the recrystallization temperature of the metal alloy, which is about 1/2 of the absolute melting temperature. So hardness of the green sand mold increases with the decrease in the permeability. So with this, I conclude with the topic of the casting. And if you have any queries, then you can ask me the queries, or otherwise my mobile number is given 9922966173, or email ID is gkawri@gmail.com. or gkwri7070 @gmail.com. So today we have covered the various parts of the casting process, the basic definitions, then riser design, gate design, shrinkage allowance, machining allowance, and all types of allowances which is to be provided on the casting. And finally, at the end of the today's lecture, we have studied the basically the Taylor's tool life equation. What do we mean by the tool life? Taylor's tool life equation, and how to determine the tool life and the machinability. So thank you very much. Over to the organizers.
Hello. Students, if you have any queries or doubts, you can ask to the today's expert. अगर किसी को कुछ पूछना है, कोई डाउट है, तो you may ask by unmuting yourself, or else you can type your question in the chat box also. और अगर अभी डाउट नहीं पूछना है तो सर ने अभी आपको अपना मेल आईडी और कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर दिया हुआ है. प्लीज सेव दैट कॉन्टैक्ट डिटेल्स. यू कैन लेटर ऑन यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस टू द today's experts. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and guiding our students for the upcoming GATE examination. Once again, thank you very much, sir, for a very wonderful and knowledgeable session. So definitely the student will get more of from this today's class. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Shall I end the meeting now?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.